Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your week ahead taroscope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, my readings are for your sun, moon and ascendant sign. So whether you're a sun, moon or rising sign Saggy, this is for you. And I always advise that you watch all three to get a clearer, more complete picture of how they're going to speak to you. With that said, remember they are general readings. Not everything's going to resonate with everybody, and that is just fine. You should always use your own discernment. Before we start, as always, I would like to bless my deck of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. For your key to the week this week, you have the moon card, right? This is the week of the new moon. New moon is a dark moon, which means you don't have all of the facts. You don't have all of the information. Just when you think that everything's going to go one way, it's likely to go the other. I've got to say, this week is kind of one of those weeks where all bets are off, right? So whatever you think is going to happen is probably not, and whatever you think is not going to happen or is unlikely to happen may possibly. With that said, you know, I don't want to fearmonger or scare anybody, but at the same time, I would advise all of us in some way, shape or form to be on our, not even high alert, but just have your inner senses stretched out as far as they can go, right? Because that really is the only thing that, as far as I'm concerned, can't be fooled, right? Now, I said this to someone many moons ago. I remember having a conversation with someone who was not very spiritual at all, and we had this massive debate, and I said to him, you know, every other one of your senses can all be fooled, all of them, but what you feel and how you feel it and the depth to which you feel it cannot be, right? And so this week I invite you to utilize your inner senses. There's a lot of weird fucking energy in the air at this moment in time. I think we can all agree on that much at least. And while it's not all going to be 100% bang on, what information you do get from the internal levels is better than most. All right, so that's my whole spiel, and I will leave it at that. You've got the moon card this week, which can be, I gotta say, you know, in the early days, it was other cards like the Tower and all the rest of it. I used to be like, oh, but now when, you know, as a more seasoned person, I start to understand this card a little different, and it's one of the ones that I actually don't like to see. None of the cards are bad, but the things that they hint at or speak to can be interesting to say the least, right? So that being said, we have the moon card, and I want you to be very aware that there is a lack of clarity right now. What you see as, it's kind of like, a perfect example is, you know, the shadow on the cave wall, right? And then what comes around the corner is a chihuahua. This is that kind of week. That's not to say that you should take anything for granted or that you should dismiss anything, but just be aware that what you're seeing and what you're getting, very likely to be very different things. All right, so your jumping card there, I'll get into that in just a moment. If you haven't seen it, please check out your life path reading for the numerology for October 2021. There'll be a thingy here that will show you how to work out what your life path number is, so that you can check that out. I work really hard on those to bring you a different perspective of how these energies are going to hit us. Astrology, numerology, tarot, I Ching, gosh, I can't even think of anything else off the top of my head. They're all slices of what we experience, right? So the more you watch, the more ideas and stuff you have, is the more deeply you're examining yourself and the way that certain energies are going to hit you. All right, for your if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit the subscribe button. If you are a continued subby, you know Rafi loves you. You've got that 8 of Swords for your actions and options this week, right? Coupled with the moon card, this could be a week where you really are just locked inside yourself, going over something over and over again. And my advice to you is, whatever it is, let it go, right? It's not going to do you any favors, certainly not this week anyway, right? If you are feeling hemmed in, if you are having that thought of, I'm never going to escape this, stamp that thought out immediately. All right, this Eight of Swords is really highlighting to you where maybe at the moment you don't have any option to move forward, but there will be one very soon. All right. For your communications and conversations, you have the Page of Swords. Whatever communication comes in this week, take it all with a pinch of salt, right? And that's the first thing. The second, Sagittarius is one of the two major signs of truth. And the reason I say the two major signs is because Aquarius and Sagittarius both have that kind of energy about them. But all of the signs, in some way, shape or form, speak to a specific type of or part of the truth, the universal truth. Yours is a sign that is very much about integrity, very much about honesty, very much about, the truth in all of its guises. This Page of Swords in your communications and that Moon card there, if you go off half-cocked on something this week, you could launch into an epic Sagittarian rant and you could get it so epically fucking wrong that when it blows up on you, you will be like, okay, I really, really messed up here. Don't do it, all right? That's my biggest piece of advice to you. And this isn't about being passive. It's not about turning the other cheek. It's about really being very clear on what battles to fight and when. You've got the Page of Swords there with that Moon card, and I kind of feel like this is you riding out on something, and when it hits, you're like, oh crap, there's a vital piece of this that I absolutely missed, and now, I've gone on this massive sort of campaign only to find out it's kind of like, it's like, Ray, are you ready? It's a rewrite. You know that song. And isn't it ironic? This is that, right? Because the words that I heard in my head just as I was trying to explain that was, it's like a death row pardon a minute too late, right? This week, I want Alanis Morissette, not that it shouldn't be, because she was a fucking rock star. Alanis Morissette's Ironic is your anthem for this week. Listen to that song. It will give you an idea of how things might shape up for you guys, all right? Specifically Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant. Now, that being said, if you are employed by somebody else, go with the flow. When people push you, pull them. When people push you, when people pull you, push them, right? Whatever it is that happens this week in terms of communications, if you're employed, steer into the skid. It's going to be the best way for you to get out of this, right? A really good example of this would be, there's a book called The Way of the Peaceful Warrior, and there's a bit of a morality, the whole thing's a morality tale really, but there's a moment at which, like, the young sort of ingenue protege, whatever you want to call him, tries to get some little bit of revenge on the master, and he says to his team, when he comes, like, don't make any fun of him, but he likes to be called Marilyn. This whole thing ensues. You can imagine how it goes, but the guy just leans into it, says, yeah, absolutely. And do you know what we used to call him when he was little? Actually, I better not say. And then they start, like, he completely turns it around. That is the way that you need to be this week if you're employed. For those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that work for themselves, I don't want to say that this is an attack on your business, but that new moon is going to be an interesting one, to say the least. And if you are a Saggy rising, this is happening in your 11th house, which is all to do with groups. It's all to do with the gains from your business as a derived house. It's all to do with your what you gain from your higher aspirations and goals. And it's also about benefactors. But because of the way that this energy is happening, and the retrograde energy, and then the Mars energy that's sort of combined or conjunct with this, I kind of feel like this may be that somebody tries to present you in a way that actually isn't you. And it may not at the moment be noticed unless you're watching this, and so you're going to be aware of it or for it. You might be unclear on it in some way. Sorry, this is going to be a very long Saggy reading, but this is what comes up. This is how it happens, right? I just want you to be really look after yourself, your brand, your business. This is not a week to get into bed with anybody new, I'm sorry to say. If they're people that you know, you're relatively all right. But if you don't know them and they're new, be very wary of what you put your name to this week. When it comes to those of you that are retired and no longer working, the past could really creep up this week. And if it does, I would say take a moment to step back, because what you're feeling is absolutely real. But it's also true to say that what you're feeling is an echo, all right, of something that's already passed. And it's like, this is what our triggers are. They're echoes. It doesn't mean, and like I said to you earlier, what you feel is absolutely real. It can't be fooled, right? But that doesn't mean that it's happening at this moment in time. So this is about getting clarity on the internal level this week. For your love and relations, all right, you've got the Star card. Whew. So there is some saving grace here. For those of you that are partnered, married, in long-term relationships, this is really lovely, because it suggests that that's where the healing is, right? That's where the solace comes from your relationship. It could also be as well that some of the future plans that you have with yourself and your partner, they're moved up, they are sped up. What you thought maybe you had months or even years on suddenly becomes, months or weeks. There's something here that's speeding up whatever it is that you're having to do. For those of you that are single, I mean, you could be meeting someone this week, but if I'm honest, with this much cloudy energy, be careful, especially if you're meeting people online, because who they say they are and how they present themselves is probably only one aspect of it. Then you've got the Justice card, right? So this comes right underneath the Page of Swords. This literally speaks to the time of Libra, right? And we're in Libra season now. So my advice to you is be hyper alert, be hyper vigilant this week. When it comes to money, finances, resources, if you have to sign a contract this week, what I like to do in a retrograde, if I have to sign something, is I'll get somebody else to have a look over it. If you're buying a property or you're planning to rent a property, ask for a second viewing. There's likely something that you've missed, or something that you weren't aware of, or something that you would want changed. And if you don't go and check it out before this energy ends, you're going to have to deal with it at a later point, right? The other thing is as well, when it comes to finances this week, because you've got this with the Star card, I would negotiate. All right, I just this week, don't accept the price for what it is. If you think that you can get better or do better, then do so. All right. When it comes to your physical health and vitality, this is your kidneys, your kidneys, your urinary system, all of that kind of area. And this isn't to say that you're going to have a problem there, but then when I see that you've got the Moon card here in the key to the week, I start to think, okay, there's something going on with the internal waters of the body. So look after your physical health in that regard. I'm not a doctor, I can't give you medical advice. If you feel anything, and you go in to get a checkup, ask them to check those kinds of areas for you. When it comes to your home and environment, like I said, if you're buying a new home, if you're planning to rent a new home, get a second viewing. There's something that you're not aware of in that place. And then finally, for your new moon message, that powerful new moon in the sign of Libra, you have, oh gosh, we're throwing them all over the place. Aha, okay. You've got the Gate 2 and Direct. This is so fucking apt, it's ridiculous. So this card, the moth, you know how moths are drawn to flame, they're drawn to the light bulbs and all the rest of it, driving us all mad. It's because they mistake that for the true source of warmth, the sun, right? And it's not. This week, there is going to be a lot of counterfeit around you, and it's going to be up to you to really pierce through the veil of that. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by being 100% clear within yourself. You know, that's the best messages that I can give you. I'm sorry that they're not easy, but I wish you all of the best. I hope that you navigate this with poise and grace, and with a lot of that Sagittarian vigor that you are known for. Yeah, let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.